sometimes? You know, it's like, some people get sensitive.
Yeah, but I'm the guy, so you could say whatever you want. I promise I won't get sensitive.
I'm the guy. Detective for RPD and work like what was SWAT? Work SWAT? How do you?
So like I'm assigned to Fort Lauderdale.
Okay.
Like I'm a Fort Lauderdale detective,
Okay.
and I'm also assigned to the SWAT team.
You're assigned to the SWAT team.
Yes.
Do you have a position in the SWAT team?
Sure, I'm on the entry team, and I'm also on the wet team.
Entry and wet team on the SWAT team. Entry and wet team on the SWAT team. Welcome to Beach Runner Podcast. My host, Christian Fernandez. My guest, Mike Peugh.
You could just keep it super simple. He's a veteran, he's a detective with Fort Lauderdale Police, and he's also assigned to the SWAT team.
Nice.
I know.
That'll get us going.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Welcome to Beach Runner Podcast. My name is Christian Fernandez. I'm your host, and I want to welcome Mike Peugh. He is a Army veteran. He's also serves on the Fort Lauderdale PD. He's a detective, and he actually serves in the SWAT team as well. Thank you so much for doing this, Mike.
Thanks for having me, Christian.
I appreciate it, Mike. So, thank you for coming in. I'm a big fan of people that serve the community and all that they do every single day. It goes really unrecognized as, you know, as we go about our course in business or our daily lives, we sometimes lose sight of the people, the civil servants, the people that are helping, you know, keep everything safe, things organized, and all the work that you guys do. So first and foremost, I want to thank you for really doing everything you do every single day, man.
That's
my
pleasure.
It's incredible, man. I met you we trained together. And that's really where I started to learn a little bit about you. Where are you from? You know, where were you born, and so forth?
Well, I was actually born in New York. I moved from New York down to Florida, Tampa, Florida, which is where I grew up. I moved down there when I was about like 3, I think. I have a little bit of a messed up childhood, like, you know, parent situation. So we bounced around a lot all over Tampa. And then eventually, when I was like 14 or 15 years old, ended up moving out of my mom's house, moving into my aunt and uncle's house in Fort Lauderdale down here. So I spent my high school years down here. So usually, like when I refer to my parents, I'm referring to my aunt and uncle.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's just, you know, basically kind of, you know, where I came from and all that.
Yeah. So Fort Lauderdale, where'd you go to high school?
Fort Lauderdale Christian School. I don't even think it's open anymore.
Oh,
It's
really?
Was a super small school. Went from being in a public school in Tampa. We were, you know, pretty poor. Going from that to a private school in Fort Lauderdale with a super small group of kids that were like super smiley all the time.
Yeah.
You know, it was like way different. It was like a little bit of a culture shock for me. But yeah, so.
So what was that, like 9th grade, 10th grade?
Yeah, halfway through 8th grade is when I moved down here.
Okay.
So.
And were you big into sports?
Yeah, I played baseball all growing up. I played football. Started in the police athletic league in Tampa, and then my high school didn't have a football team until the end of my junior year, and then into my senior year. So I played baseball, football. I actually played soccer my senior year. Never thought I would ever play soccer. Actually ended up being one of the most fun sports I ever played.
What'd you find so enjoyable about it?
I think because I had nothing invested in it. It was more about just going out having fun, and I didn't really, like, I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
I just knew you had to kick the ball into the net. That was basically all I knew. I didn't know
like
about.
Free to play.
Yeah, I could just play. I just have a good time, you know. So that was kind of, I think that's why I enjoyed it so much. Is, you know, different kind of group of kids played soccer than on the baseball and football team. It's a little more. I don't know. It was just more fun, I think. Just not as much pressure.
So in high school, you played football?
Yep.
And baseball?
Yeah.
What position in football?
I was a middle linebacker. That's probably a surprise, but and then for baseball, I played. I was a catcher. I was a captain of both. Yeah.
Nice. And your football training program, what was that like in high school? Is it comparable to what it is today, or? Is it like,
No, I train way harder now than I ever did in high school.
Yeah.
I wish I would have trained this hard when I was younger.
Yeah, but usually like high school programs now, I think they make their kids like do cross country, like on the off
Sure,
season and things like that.
we were kind of starting out, so I used to go to Westminster and do their summer football workout programs, but that was like an Olympic lifting. We had, Olympic lifting program, then sprints and drills and stuff like that. And then because the coaches, if I'm remembering correctly, I know that the coaches aren't allowed to be there for a certain period of time because of the rules. They don't want extra practices for teams to be better than other teams.
Oh, really?
And stuff like that. So
that was
yeah.
going on back then too.
Yeah, absolutely. There was like I want to say like you weren't allowed to have the coaches on the field until like August, but I was just there to kind of just work out and hang out with some other friends.
Yeah.
And just get some football in my life because we didn't have it, most of my high school.
So at that point you started lifting.
Oh yeah, I started lifting when I was probably actually, my uncle had a little weightlifting set in his garage. I was 14, moved in, didn't have a lot of friends, new, so I buried myself in the weights, in the garage. My uncle showed me a bunch of stuff. He was a wrestler in New York when he was growing up, so he had some weight training experience. So
Nice.
definitely played a big role in me.
So 14 you picked
Yeah,
up
about
the weight.
14 years old, man. Yeah.
And it was dumbbells?
Dumbbells, yeah.
Single dumbbells?
Yeah, dumbbells,
And a bench.
barbell, bench press, and that was pretty much it.
Yeah, I mean, well, you can get a lot done with that.
Absolutely.
So you graduate high school, and then what do you do after high school?
I graduated high school, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. Since the time I was a little kid, I knew that I wanted to join the Army. My parents, on the other hand, were not super big on me joining the Army. I expressed that all through high school. They definitely didn't want.
So going into high school, you knew that's where you
I
wanted
kind
to
of,
do?
yeah, that's always something that I've always
Yeah.
wanted to do. I don't know what kind of drew me to it. I think as young men, we see these things, you see movies and stuff. It makes it seem like a romantic experience.
There's a bit of romanticism to it.
Yeah, there is,
And
I
there's
think.
like a calling to it.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was something I had always wanted to do. They convinced me not to join right out of high school. I ended up going to Atlantic Votech and doing the automotive program.
So they won the first battle.
They did. So
What was that conversation like?
Well,
Like,
I think
were you already talking to a recruiter at that point, or?
I had talked to, how it is in high school. They come, they talk to you,
Sure.
whatever. And I'd always expressed interest. Now still living at their house.
Mhm.
So I'm not, I was trying to appease them by, doing the automotive thing. And they were like, if you still want to do it, we can have that discussion when it comes. So I did that for 8 months, I think, or a year, somewhere around there, whatever their program was. Finished up. I actually broke my ankle the summer after my senior year, and I had to have a metal plate put in.
How'd you break it?
Skateboarding, which I'm terrible at. I have no business doing any of that stuff. You've seen me move around on the mats, so.
Skateboarding, yeah. I don't get on skateboards either.
Oh,
man.
dude,
Those
no.
things are dangerous.
So, yeah, we broke it. I had to have a metal plate and a bunch of screws put in. The military won't accept you with any metal in your body.
Oh, really?
So I kind of knew that was out of the question for at least a little while. The doctor, around August of, I want to say it's right after my senior year of high school. So he was like, hey, we can take this out. And I was like, let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's get it out of me. So it was starting to cause me a little bit of mobility issues as well. So it was a little annoying. So I had it taken out, and I'd actually enrolled at BC or BCC back then, just general. I didn't know what else.
Keeping things moving.
Yeah, just trying
get
to
some
do
credits.
something, whatever. Just trying to keep the parents happy.
Yeah.
Staying
Staying busy.
busy. I think I was working actually at Barney's Coffee and Tea.
Mhm.
That's where I met my wife actually. And then just, it wasn't, I was enrolled, I'm sitting down in math class, it was like pre-algebra, you know.
Yeah.
I think it was like my 4th or 5th week in college, and they were like, hey, open up your book to whatever page, do question 1 through 300 odds. I think I got like 10 questions in, and I was like, I'm done with this.
We're done with this.
Yeah, it's over. So closed the book, I walked out, and I walked right over to the recruiting station, and walked up to the recruiter, Sergeant Bird at the time, and I was like, hey, the war in Iraq had kicked off. We were already in Afghanistan. They were invading Iraq, or getting ready to. And I was like, I want to go to war. I was like, I want to serve my country. What do I got to do to go? And he was like, what?
Not much.
Yeah.
No bonus?
I didn't even care.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother story. But he
So,
was.
I mean, but normally you get a bonus, right?
Yeah, you do. So, like, I was like, I just wanted to get out.
Yeah,
I was
you were
like,
just so ready to go.
I was like, this is what I wanted to do. I'm like, why am I messing around here?
Yeah.
Like, let me just do it. I didn't tell my parents, obviously, at this time.
Sure.
So, whatever. He like had to dust off pamphlets because, like I said, this is like right like when stuff's getting wild, and
So is there a big need for people?
there 100% there was.
And then
So,
there's people staying away. Is that?
yeah, like after 9/11, the recruiting lines were around the
Okay.
the block. But now that like an actual war was going
It
on,
tapers down and nobody
nobody
wants
wants to go to war. So they're trying to sell me on free college, which I had already was like, I'm not.
Nah, it's
I
not
already
selling
tried
point.
that. Yeah, I was like, I just wanted to have machine guns,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you know whatever. So he was like blown away. He's like, I've never had. This is so easy. He was like,
This is the right attitude.
yeah. So he's like, hey, I want to come to your house and meet with you. I was like, you don't need to. I was like, let's just get this.
But also you got to keep him away from the house too, no? Because
100%.
Because if he comes
Yeah,
over,
so
and
that's
the
what
pa-
happened. That's exactly what
Oh
happened.
my God!
So, which devastated my aunt. She was.
So what was that? Was your aunt home?
No,
Or were you
he
home?
came over and he's talking like brochures, talking about different jobs, and she walks in the door, and then she was like,
Oh, he was talking to you.
"Yeah," and I was like, "Oh man,"
so
I was
this
like,
is-
I was like, "This is no good."
But you know, it's better that she found out that way.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
Then like all of a sudden Mike just disappears.
No, I would not. I would have never have done that to her. No.
But you were on the track for that.
Yeah,
you know?
I
It's
was.
So how were you expecting to break the news to her? Or was that your way of breaking the news to her at the time?
No, I don't know. I'm not sure how I was expecting to do it. My plan, I don't know, my stupid 18-year-old
You know,
brain.
there's a lot of 18-year-olds out there, thinking about
when you're
things.
stupid and young, you're thinking like, hey, like, I don't know, I'm gonna sign up, and then like once everything's signed, I'll tell her, and they can't, like, it's too late at that
Yeah.
point, you know. So, but so she found out. We had a big discussion. I think she offered me like 10 grand,
Yeah.
not to go and join. Obviously, that wasn't.
The money wasn't the reason.
It wasn't. And then we go to sign up. It's like a whole process. You got to go down to Miami. They do a physical. They do like a psych eval. They do a background check. Like a whole thing. You know, all kinds of stuff. And then they sit you down. This is the way, at the time. This is the way it worked for the Army.
This is pre-signing the papers?
Pre-signing the papers. Just the recruiter is allowed to be in a room with you, but he's not allowed. He's not the guy that actually like gives you the job. There's some guy that sits at the table at the computer and says, "Okay, the Army needs these things," and they try to give you the best contract that there is. Like that's so he like, "Hey, you can be a carpenter. We're gonna give you a lump sum bonus of 20 grand. You know, you're gonna get a quick ship bonus, extra $2,000." And I was like, carpenter. And my recruiter's like, do it. He's like, but he can't say anything.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
like, this is the contract. Like, you won.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's cool. I was like, but I really want to like go shoot some machine guns. And,
Yeah,
like,
carpenter
blow
doesn't
some
sound
stuff.
like...
It's not my
Yeah.
thing. So he, my recruiter like choked on his dip over in the corner. He's like, what are you doing? So I was like, actually came up to be a combat engineer, just like Daniel did.
Nice.
So I signed a contract for that, and then
So wait a minute. He went back, and then he's
yeah,
like,
he does more stuff,
more computing, more looking.
and he was like, "What about a combat engineer?" And then a couple days before that, I had met one they had in the office. Told me all kinds of cool. They do like demo, like explosives and stuff, and I was like, "I'm in. Sign me up. That sounds awesome." And they were like, "Yeah, but there's no bonus. There's nothing." And I was like, "Whatever." I was like,
It's the job that you wanted.
Absolutely. So it kind of fulfilled that little, that little itch that I had.
So you get the job that you wanted.
Right.
You sign the papers.
Yeah.
Then what? Then you go home and
Go home, let them know what my job is.
How much time before you
So
leave?
I missed
Is it called deployment? Like
Yeah,
at that point?
no, it's not.
It's called you're going to training.
You're
basic training.
basic training.
Basic
So
training.
I had like I want to say like 3 weeks. I missed like the quick ship bonus by like a couple days. I didn't care.
Yeah.
I was just done. I was ready to go, and I had like 2-3 weeks. Had a big going away party with all my buddies, and then I was gone.
And where'd you?
Fort Leonard Wood, same as Daniel.
Okay.
Are
there different sites for?
There
basic
are.
training?
So if you go to like infantry school, you go to Benning.
Okay.
I think if you're like a support personnel, maybe Jackson, Fort Jackson, they have different basic trainings depending, for the Army at least, depending on whatever job you're signed up to do. So Fort Leonard Wood is combat engineers. MPs I think are still out there, and I believe like construction and like chemical engineers are out there as well.
Tell me about your basic training.
I had a blast in basic training. Like I was, I wasn't, just because of my past growing up, I didn't have like the sense of like real loneliness. A lot of guys
You were
get.
good being by
I was just there. I was happy.
It's more like summer camp for you.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I was learning all kinds of stuff that I'd like dreamed about doing, like learning how to be a soldier, the waking up early in the morning. I remember the very first night of basic training, I get waking up at like 3 o'clock in the morning. Red light in my face. I'm like, oh geez, this is it. Like they're gonna start screaming, it's over. Like here, the world's getting ready to shatter. And it's some other private that's going through basic. He's like, hey, are you Peugh? I was like, yeah. He's like, you're from Florida, right? And I was like, yeah, I'm from Florida. He's like, all right, drill sergeant wants to see you. It's like, oh, Christ. I was like, all right, what's he want? So he calls me down to the office. He's like, you're from Florida? All you boys from Florida? And we were like, yeah. He's like, good. There's about 3 feet of snow that needs to be cleared off the PT field. So we all cleared out the snow off the PT field. And, then they bring the whole company out there. And,
So you got to clear the field.
yeah, there's like think of like a big, like a big parking lot almost, and it's just where you're gonna do a bunch of push-ups and sit-ups and whatever.
You can't do it with the snow there.
No, you can't. So we cleared it off. Whatever. It's just but
Good morning.
yeah, exactly. I mean, you just kind of get used to it after a little while.
You're expecting it.
Yeah, it was definitely a fun experience.
What was the most stressful part of the experience for you?
I know Daniel touched on it a little bit, but you end up, you take responsibility for other people's actions.
Mm-hmm.
So even though you're doing whatever you can to make sure you're doing the right thing, there's other people that just can't grasp the concept of being where they need to be when they're supposed to be, having the equipment that they're supposed to have, and stuff like that. So everybody's got to pay. So now, Private Joe Snuffy doesn't have the right color socks on, and now we're all going to be, doing whatever crazy punishment they have for us, rolling around in the mud or doing a bunch of exercise or something like that. So
that got old real quick.
that gets old. But then, by the end of basic training, you've got lifelong relationships. When you do something hard with a group of people or anybody, so it's just like jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
We train hard, we work hard in the gym, so we've got a little bit of a different bond than we probably do with other people in our lives. So I think when people are forced to do hard things together, they develop a little bit of a bond. And by the end of basic training, you put all that stuff behind you, and you're on your way to your next unit.
Nice. So your next unit was what?
So I actually originally signed up as a reserve, went down to Miami, did the reserve stuff. It wasn't really what I wanted. Wasn't like the
Why?
full-time.
Okay.
It wasn't like a full-time army. I was expecting, they were like, hey, the reserves are what's going to get you deployed. So like that's what I wanted to do. 6 months goes by, not getting deployed. They send me away a couple times. They're like, hey, this is it, you're getting deployed. They send me away a couple times to get processed, to be put into a different unit to get deployed. Never happens, come back. So they were like, hey, if you really want to get deployed, you can sign up to go active duty. And I was like, sign me up. I was like, I got nothing going on. I was
Yeah.
like, I'm in.
That's what you're there for.
That's what I was there for. So I signed up active duty. I was like, in May, I was at my duty station at Fort Hood. Met, my new unit, and shortly after, we were deployed.
So short, what, a month, 2 months, 6 months?
So you do like a workup.
Workup, which means train together?
Yeah, train. So you do like a unit, you do small unit tactics, then you do like a bigger unit, and bigger and bigger and bigger, and then it
So
goes like,
walk me through that. So small unit is what, 5 to 10 people?
yeah, so you'll have like squad. Your squad's like 5 to 10 people. And then from there, you'll have your platoon, which is depending on what your job is. In our combat engineer, you're looking at like 30 to 40 guys.
Okay.
And
So
then
you'll
you're-
run exercises with 30 or 40 guys?
Right, doing like our platoon stuff. And then you'll do a company exercise, which our company was, we had 2 platoons, 3 platoons, so you're looking at like, I don't know, like maybe like 100 guys going out. And then when you're in a company like that, you go out and train with the battalion, which is like thousands of guys. It's other companies. So we were with, it was something new that they were doing, not to get like bogged down in all this
No, it's
like
fine.
semantics, but the way the old army did things in conventional warfare, you would have infantry, tankers, combat engineers, and fuelers and cooks,
It was separate?
and they're all separate. So when you get deployed, everybody would get mashed up. So we had a battalion. It was called a BCT, our Brigade Combat Team, and we had scouts, infantry, tankers, combat
A little
engineers,
bit of everything.
and we had everything, so we could deploy as together as one unit to one area.
Self-sufficient.
Absolutely.
And
So
everybody in sync with each other.
yeah, we all know each other.
Correct.
We're
You've been
all
training together.
yeah. We live in the barracks together with each other.
Yeah.
We're all buddies.
So if the cook's doing a terrible job,
We can be like, hey,
yo, a little more salt on the
yeah,
steak,
Jim,
please.
like whatever. But exactly. So once you get up into the company level exercises, though, you're working with the brigade, and then they'll send you out to like California, to Fort Irwin, which is, I'd rather get deployed again. It's a miserable place. It's just desert. There's nothing out there, and it's just hot,
Yeah.
and you're just playing laser tag with lasers that don't work.
So is it, out of your experience, what is the worst training grounds there is?
I
wouldn't
go, no, I mean,
That's just like, if you're there, you're like,
I'm not
oh,
going, I don't like I understand what their job, I understand
Sure.
what their mission is, and it's not made to be comfortable.
Correct.
It's not made to, which I'm good with, but if I never have to go back there again, I'd be a happy man.
what is it?
Fort Irwin, it's called NTC, it's a National Training Center.
So that's the worst one.
Yeah, I hate it, like it's miserable.
Where is that at?
It's actually in the Mojave Desert in California.
It's pretty hot.
Yeah, so it's like 110 in August, and it's just you and the sun.
Wow.
And then we were a mechanized unit, so we had what's called a Bradley, which is like, the only way I can explain it, it looks like a tank, but if you call it a tank, they'll yell at you.
It's not a tank.
No,
it's
not
a Bradley.
but it looks like a tank. It's got a big gun.
I would call it a tank.
Yeah, exactly. But I would never go back out there. That was miserable. It's just, and it's boring. You're not doing, like, you think it's gonna be cool. You tell you
Super slow.
super slow. A lot of waiting. A lot of just suckiness.
Sitting
The
around.
training itself is fun. Like when you go assault like a cave or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
Like
The process of
That's-
it, but the waiting to execute is,
right.
from what I hear, the killer.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
So you get deployed to where?
Iraq, and that was in 2005.
2005, and with what unit?
4th Infantry Division, 1st Brigade, 22nd Infantry Regiment. So 4th Infantry Division, 122.
Nice. So, and what was your first 24 hours like there?
You spent a whole bunch of time in Kuwait getting ready. I actually went advance party. You just are there to gather equipment that's coming in. I went there with our XO, which is like our executive officer. He's in charge of like supplies and all that stuff, and a couple other guys. But once we get into Iraq, you fly into Baghdad International Airport, which is, you know, like Saddam's place. And back then, it was a little bit different. If you talk, like, if you go there now, there's like, it's a nice place. It's as far as bases go. Back then, it was a little different, not as secure. But you come in on C-130s, which is a big cargo aircraft.
So how many people are sitting in?
A ton. I was never airborne, so I don't know like all the specs.
Yeah, but you can fit a ton of soldiers in there.
Yeah, there's like 100 of us in there. I don't know, maybe not 100, but there's a bunch of us in there, and just crammed in. And they do what's called
How long's
like
the flight?
from Kuwait to Baghdad. Maybe
No, from here to there.
Oh man, well so we take actual civilian aircraft from the United States to Kuwait, and you land in Kuwait City, and then they bus you to whatever camp you're going to be at. And then from there you go to Iraq on military aircraft from Kuwait to Iraq. The flight from here, well, it was Texas to Iraq. We had to lay over, I want to say in like Maryland, then we had to lay over in Ireland, and then straight into Kuwait. I want to say...
It's a whole day.
Yeah, I want to say it's like 16 hours or something like that, and it's, you know, and then it's the aircraft with like the 4 seats on one side, 4, and then like 6 in the middle.
Yeah,
and of course you're the middle guy, and you're just like, okay, we're just gonna be sitting here for a while. This is before like iPads and stuff, you know. So yeah, but
so you've been sitting for a while.
Yeah,
for many years.
Yeah, and it's like yeah. So and then like when you get there, it's not like immediate like in Kuwait. It's more like that's like a staging area. So it's not like stuff's going off.
Yeah.
Now back in the day, like when the war first kicked off, Saddam was like shooting Scud missiles at our guys and stuff like that.
It was very reactive, very on the spot. Like you get on the ground running.
And we're you know, you got to be, you know, whatever.
But this was more
a little more established.
A little bit.
A little more established. 2005 is like kind of like when the insurgency happened. And if you talk to anybody about like the conflict in Iraq, like 04 to like 07, like that whole time frame was pretty intense with the insurgency and roadside bombs and, you know, ambushes and like guerrilla warfare, you know, stuff like that. So we you know, we weren't really prepared. You know, we train up as a conventional unit, you know, conventional warfare, force on force, tanks against tanks, you know, guys dropping in, like, you know, World War II style.
Correct.
But that kind of stuff went by the wayside. So now the Army's developing new procedures and stuff for everything.
So you get there, and now, what was your day-to-day job there?
So
is it clearing rows?
Eventually we started doing that. We actually got detached and reattached to the 101st Airborne. We were responsible for a stretch of highway. It's pretty sure it's declassified now, but it's Highway 1, Route Tampa. Everybody knows where it is. It's no secret. But it's the main highway that goes from Kuwait up into Iraq, and that's like the main supply route. So we were tasked with securing a portion of that just south of Baghdad. And
so do you camp out there?
Yeah, well, sometimes we'd stay out there. IEDs were getting to be like a big deal. We lost a bunch of guys to IEDs from the 101st side, and you're securing the roadway. You're trying to deter the emplacement of IEDs. You're looking for IEDs. We building relationship with the Iraqi army, the good Iraqi army, the guys that were employing. Yeah. You're trying to build relationship with the community, get intelligence where the insurgents might be or whatever is going on at that time.
Can you trust anybody there? That's
You feel no.
yeah,
You-
like you're even from your interpreter and all
No.
because you're working with an interpreter, right? To
Correct.
build these
So in the-
relationships.
at first glance, you're thinking of an interpreter, and you're like, man, this guy's a local national. Like, how do I trust this guy? And then you sit down and talk to him. You find out his family's been murdered
Yeah.
by insurgents, and he believes in the American dream, and he's there because he loves his country and he wants to see this succeed. Then you're like,
So
he's on our side.
Usually the interpreter has a crazy story of
Yeah,
why he's there.
100%.
doing what he
Yeah,
does.
absolutely. And then you're like, okay, we could trust this guy.
Sure.
He's a good dude.
Yeah, because he's pretty much willing to die.
Right.
Because for you to be an interpreter for the Americans, I gotta imagine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is a real negative
Yeah,
thing. in that
and when
country.
they go home, like they go home on leave, like the same way we would. They have to like cover their faces, and then they have to take like buses to like different places, and
So they
take,
go home on leave.
Yeah, they have to go home at some point, if they've got.
So that's not
families.
home for them.
No, they're like in our bases.
So it's like their job.
Yeah, it's their job. They're getting paid by the United States government. So, but they wouldn't be doing it if they didn't believe in it. You
Yeah.
know. So I'm sure there's stories of crooked interpreters and stuff out there. Like no matter where you're at, you're always going to have somebody that's
Yeah.
doing something jacked up. But those guys were always good dudes. But so for like I want to say like the first 6 months, that was what our deal was. I was the gunner on my commander's vehicle for I don't know, probably about 6 months, lead gun truck. So we were in charge of like checking on and I was just a private at the time, so I was just in charge of my machine gun.
Yeah.
So
Just man your gun.
Yeah,
Hey, man,
that's it. So and then whatever else comes along with that. But like we would go bring supplies to the Iraqi army. We'd go help fortify our outposts. Relieve guys that need to be relieved. Whatever the mission called for that day.
So how frequent was your receiving of attacks from is it like a daily occurrence
So,
during any time frame, or is it?
Depending on how you look at this, I want to say it was like my second patrol out. We got a pretty big ambush. Like I said, we were on the main supply route, and down south I see tracer fire coming over the road. It's probably like, I don't know, about 1,000 meters, 2,000 meters away.
So is this as soon as you leave your fort that you're immediately like?
No, we're on the
or do you
road.
have to drive to this main
Drive into
road,
this road.
and
I'm
it's a
going
road of
down there.
action.
Yeah,
pretty much.
absolutely. So we go down there, and it's probably about a 30-minute drive from our base. Getting down there, everything's quiet, everything's good, and I just start seeing tracers come across the road, and I was like, oh. I'm like, that's a little far away. I advised my commander. He's like, all right, we're going to monitor it. And he's like, okay. Starts getting closer. As the convoy's getting closer, I'm like, hey, sir, starting to escalate. They're getting closer. Our job here is to secure the roadway. It's not secure.
Yeah.
These guys are shooting up this convoy. It's like a wall of tracers.
And you're telling your commander this, and this is normal for him. This is just
No, it's not
No, it's
normal
not
for anybody
for
at this
nobody.
time.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
this is
things
new
are
ground.
intensifying.
This is the first firefight that's getting ready to ensue that anybody in the company's really been in. It's kind of like a new.
So your commander came with you guys.
Yep.
It's not like it was an existing commander.
Nope, we all deployed together, all
Oh,
together.
okay.
Like back in Vietnam, you used to have that where.
So there you really see somebody's leadership skills immediately
Yeah.
come into play.
So which actually brings up a good point because it was a little bit lacking. So he didn't really know what to do, and I just knew, in my heart, I was like, we're here to secure this.
Yeah.
These guys are getting shot up.
And you emphasize that. on the
Yeah,
radio, that-
absolutely. We only had one gun truck, which was us. We had 2 supply trucks with no big heavy machine guns or anything, and then one more truck that was in the back, with a machine gun on it. So now we're kind of we're kind of spread thin.
Yeah.
Large insurgent group out off the roadway. Think of like I-95. Like that's basically what this highway looks like. Just desolate because it's a war zone.
Large insurgent group.
Yeah.
Meaning, like how many people would you have?
Oh,
Is
man.
it daytime, nighttime?
Nighttime. It's probably, I want to say it was like it was like maybe 10, 11 o'clock at night.
Do you see them in the distance? With
Yeah,
the fire
definitely.
and
You can see
pitchforks,
they come up in trucks.
Oh, so you see the lights of the trucks.
See the lights. Well, they're blacked out, but we've got night vision goggles.
Yeah.
I got thermal imagery. You know, we own the night. That's
right.
like our thing. So we see them coming up. I see them. These guys are maneuvering. They're like leapfrogging the convoy. The convoy is like 100 vehicles long, and these guys are in trucks. They're unloading machine guns on tripods and
Wow.
like all kind. Like, and then there's a bunch of dudes out there with AKs and RPGs
They're
and
getting
stuff.
ready for a big battle.
Yeah, but they have no clue that we're there. They have no idea that we're there.
Oh, really? So they're setting up.
Yeah, they're setting up to keep ambushing this convoy that's going.
Oh.
So I was like, hey, it's time. Like, it's time to go. And it was like a stupid, like something out of a movie. So I had a 50 cal and it's a butterfly to shoot to shoot it. And behind it, we would keep a piece of ammo, so there's no safety on it. So you couldn't accidentally
Yeah.
fire unless you had
It's a
real intention.
manual safety.
Yeah, so it was like it was like something out of a movie. I slide it out and it was like slow motion. I just hear it like bounce off the bottom of the truck, and then it was just, and then, you know, everything goes blurry, you know, because adrenaline is through the roof, and then
Things are happening so fast.
things are happening quick. Bradleys start coming in, like guys that are there. They're starting to engage. We all start engaging. Things kind of start calming down. People start maneuvering and doing what they're supposed to do. And eventually these guys pack up and take off. You know, but yeah, so that was our very first firefight.
Man.
And it was crazy, dude. It lasted a while. I'd say like 20, 30 minutes, which is not, that might not sound long, but the most ambushes and like little attacks like that, it's like a couple minutes.
Yeah.
Pop shots, IED, RPG, and then they're out of there. They're
Yeah.
just going to look to create casualties, inflict fear, and then get out of there. But they were like, you know, they thought, this is just me speculating. I don't think they realized that we were there. And once the Bradley started firing on them, like it's a wrap. Like you don't want to hang around for that, you know.
Yeah. You got your Campbell or whatever.
Yeah.
Your old Nissan pickup truck.
It was a bunch of old Nissan pickup trucks. So, anyways, yeah, that was my very first experience, like a firefight in Iraq.
What was your scariest experience in Iraq?
To say a person's never like been afraid is like that's stupid.
Sure.
It's kind of hard to explain. You're there, you're facing these things daily, so you kind of get numb to fear.
Yeah.
Not maybe that's not the right way to put it, but you kind of like
You're desensitized
yeah,
to a lot of
100%. You get desensitized to it. So after a while, it's just kind of like it is what it is. I'm here.
Yeah.
I do the best that I can. Whatever happens, happens.
Sure.
And that's it. I mean, we started doing route clearance the second half of that deployment. A lot of IEDs, 500-pound bombs. We ran over a lot of IEDs. Found a lot found us. Those things are always a little, you know, hair raising. You know, I was a lead gunner on a truck, and the only way to make sure something is clear is to stick your face out and look at it. So, you know, that's like, you have to like suck it up and just kind of, you're there to do a mission, because if you don't clear that piece of land, there's going to be a bunch of other soldiers that are coming behind you that are relying on you to make sure that's clear. And we all took that job serious, you know, like that was important to us to make sure that every inch of ground that we said was clear. So, you know, we're looking for roadside bombs and like booby traps basically and stuff like that.
So is it the one that you forgot, or the one that you couldn't find, or the one that...
No, I mean, the one that, so the armored vehicles we were in were awesome. We'd get blown up and it was like, yeah, and then you're like don't get me wrong, we're getting our bells rung, guys are taking shrapnel, and it's a whole crazy thing. But then, like afterwards, everybody's like, oh, we're all right. Like everybody's like, all right, cool, man. Like whatever. Like obviously, like you don't take any of that stuff like real lightly, but you're an idiot. You're like 20 years old, and you know you're defying death every day, so you think you're invincible. So
Does that lead you to be more aggressive in your actions as you're maneuvering or
so
going out in the field, operating?
I think it's important to be aggressive, especially as opposed to being reactive, even though the act that we were doing was super reactive.
Mhm.
But if you let yourself not have an aggressive mindset or aggressive stance to those kind of things, you fall victim to that woe is me. Like, I'm gonna, like, this is it. I can't believe we're going out here to do this again. Like, today's my day. Instead of being like, no, we're gonna take it out
Season
there.
of the day.
Yeah, we're gonna take ourselves out there, and we're gonna bring the fight to these guys. They want to put IEDs out there, we're gonna fucking find them. And if they want to fight us over it, we'll fight them over it, and we're gonna win. And that was, that's, you just have to have that mindset. I can only speak for myself. I can't. There's definitely guys out there who I commend more than the guy that's hard as nails. Like the guy that's like, I'm gonna die at any second, but he still drags his ass out there anyways. Like
Yeah.
that's pretty commendable, as well. So
Was there ever a point in time that you were thankful to another branch of the military for
all the
saving
time,
your
dude.
ass?
All the time, man. Marines. They had to take one of their main routes that we cleared. They had to take to Fallujah. Marine EOD. Those guys. The Air Force. Coming in with their fixed wing assets. Stuff like
How
that.
sweet is that? Like when you really need them, and like,
Dude. And even if they
how,
can't.
how quick is that? Like from the call to
A lot-
getting there. Like,
So the times that we've been able to utilize them.
what's the
they've-
process of approval to be able to like get
So a lot of times they'll be
air support?
a lot of times they'll be stacked up already for like a different mission. Like if
Okay.
something high priority is going to go on, like you're going to take over like this part of a city and it's a high insurgent force and you're going to go door to door clear and it's going to be this whole like a Fallujah incident like what the Marines did or Ramadi. And they have they'll have fixed wing assets available to them. The times that, and that's like a whole lot of paperwork and way above my pay grade.
Yeah.
But they would, the times that we got to use them, they were just in the area and they happened to be on our channel and was like, hey, you guys need a hand? We're a fixed wing air, like they come over with their call sign, whatever it was. And we're like, who is this? Like, who are you? Like, what are you doing here? And they're like, we're fixed wing assets. Do you guys want us to, do
Take care of this for you.
yeah, like they're like we can't. I don't remember the terminology that they use, but they can't like engage.
Yeah.
But they're like, we'll break the sound barrier and blow chaff, which is like their flares.
Okay.
And we're like, okay, like absolutely. So they come in at Mach 3000, break the sound barrier, blow chaff. Everything's quiet after that. You never hear anything.
Nobody wants to mess with those planes.
No.
They see the stuff coming in from the air. I can imagine they run like ants.
Yeah, well, they hear it first too, and it
Yeah.
sounds like a thunderous roar.
Man, like at football games, man, you see like the B-52 bombers like come and just like,
Right.
and it is just so impressive, like the technology, and like you look at them from there, and it's just like, I can only imagine like, you don't see them. I gotta imagine it. If you're
Like being a bad guy.
Yeah,
and
if you're
then
a bad guy, it's like you just explode. But I mean, like, it's so intimidating.
Yeah, man, like that's
And the force of them.
the force, the mighty force of the military is definitely an awe-inspiring thing.
So you served until when?
I got out in 2009 after a second deployment, same general area in Baghdad, doing a little bit different. We had a section of the city where we patrolled and all that kind of stuff. Look for high-value targets.
Is it the green zone?
No,
Outside?
outside the green zone. So you have like Baghdad International Airport and then the green zone. We were just like southeast of Baghdad International.
Was the first deployment harder than the second, or?
Yeah, 100% it was. Back then it was that 2005 to 2006. If like that was a real hot time in Iraq. Like I don't know, like the Battle of Ramadi, like the who's the guy Chris Kyle, this American sniper. That's all during that time frame.
You ever meet Chris Kyle?
No, No. No.
You ever meet General Petraeus?
No. Never have. None of those guys.
Any famous general that you met?
We had General Thurman was the 4th Infantry Division General. Actually knew me by name. I don't
Nice.
know why, but
You stuck out to him.
I guess he found me in the motor pool one day, and he's like, what are you doing?" And I was like, "Oh, it's the general." Like, I didn't know what to do. Like, like, kind of like, "Oh man, this is big time," and then, whatever. So, but I met him a couple times, and he'd be like, "Peugh, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, hey, General, how's it going?" Like,
So the second deployment was how long?
another year.
Okay.
It was, as far as the fighting goes, it was a little bit. We definitely had our close calls and like had our own stuff going on, but it was a little bit more relaxed. The local populace wanted us there. They were thrilled that we were there. They didn't want us to leave. You'd really seen. I never thought I would have seen that change coming from my first deployment, where everything was like super hostile, and now we're like in the cities and stuff, and these people are like, "Oh, come in, have bread, have tea."
Yeah.
Like, we're so happy you're here. Like, we're also helping build their infrastructure as well. So like, if the town needed like a generator, we would do whatever we could to figure out like how to get them the funds to start a business, to fix the generator.
Just starting to stimulate the economy.
Absolutely. Like, we'd give out small business loans and stuff like that, and that was like part of our daily, as well
Small
as
business loans.
Yeah, absolutely. And it wasn't like a loan; it was more like a grant.
Yeah, like
It wasn't
we
like
don't
we're not
expect
gonna-
this money back.
No, 100%
Just
not.
really go buy a generator.
Yeah, go buy a generator. We had like guys starting up trash companies because there's garbage everywhere.
Sure.
Because their infrastructure once we came in kind of went to the wayside. And sewage and this, that, and the other. Like, so definitely providing security for them by picking up high value targets and insurgents and stuff, but also helping them build their own community back. That was kind of a big part of our mission back then.
Combat engineering, you do a lot of building, no? Like walls?
No, I never built anything except for like explosive charges.
You did more demolition than building.
Yeah, man.
Because I heard a lot of those 10-foot walls in the green zone were poured by like combat engineers.
They were a lot. There's a lot of guys. They were done by like different units. I think I just got lucky by being attached to an infantry unit, and we just kind of got to do more of that style stuff.
Well, if you would have been a carpenter,
I could have been.
you might have been on that
I
wall job.
probably would have been.
So selecting the right job.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I got done in 2009. Got back. I was already married at the time. Already had Maverick, my oldest son. He was born during my second deployment. Came back. Immediately started to apply as a police officer.
So you knew when you got back that's
what I wanted to do.
That was
yeah.
the parallel.
I was like, I gotta, like, not just that, I got a family now.
Yeah.
Like, I gotta provide. Like, this is, what else?
So that was immediate on coming back?
Yeah, within like a month, I was already applying everywhere. I applied.
So what, like, because there's a lot of people that I'm sure struggle with the coming back process.
Sure.
Right, and how to re-engage into society, and then how to pursue something in society and start a career and provide for their family and so forth. What recommendations would you give to an individual that's coming back and starting that process?
Well, I think you have to find a purpose. And my purpose, I went all in, because in the military you have a purpose. You're very purpose driven. Everything you do is with a purpose. There's nothing that you do that doesn't have a purpose.
And usually that purpose is given to you, right?
Yeah, it's given to you, and you don't have to go look for it.
So you don't have to figure it out yourself.
Right, and the process of getting out of the military is not that great. They try to make it seem like they're setting you up for civilian life.
Transition of some kind.
It's not. It's
More
terrible. And not just that, you're like, I'm done, I want to get out of here. Like,
You don't even want to stick around for any type of
no,
transition.
just let me out of here, I'm going to figure it out on my
Yeah.
own. But for me, that was my mindset. Now, there's probably some guys that could benefit from it, but I already knew. I just, I wanted to be a police officer growing up, along with being a military. It's, I think, something that little kids, especially little boys, get you know, driven to. We all love cop movies, like, you know, we've all seen Bad Boys, we've all seen the Lethal Weapons, which is all cool, right? You know, so I think, you know, you get, you know, it just kind of married up good with being in the Army and having combat experience. But I gave myself a purpose, and my purpose was to get hired, and I went all in for that. And once I got hired, my purpose was to be the best cop that I could be, and be a good husband, and be there for my wife and my kids, and, you know, kind of do that. And you have to give yourself that purpose, because if you don't have a purpose, you're gonna get into the drinking. You know, you're gonna be doing dumb stuff. You're gonna fill those voids that you're looking for with nothing positive. So if you can find a positive purpose, it doesn't matter what it is, but, you know, being like, you have to go in a direction. Whether it's going, if you're gonna go to school, you need to go to school and apply yourself to it.
Sure.
You know.
So you turned into execution mode.
Absolutely.
Accomplishing your goal.
Yeah, I don't think I ever let myself really like slow down.
Yeah.
You know, I gave myself a couple weeks off,
Sure.
and then I was
Right back to it.
right.
Starting your new process.
Absolutely, and that might have been like some kind of coping mechanism or something. You know, that like it just manifested itself on its own.
No, but I think staying busy is a great distraction, and brings a lot of positivity in the distraction process, because then as you're accomplishing things and you're being busy, you get a sense of accomplishment.
Right,
And
absolutely.
it triggers endorphins. So even if the whole coping process was that, you know, it's a positive coping process.
Exactly.
Because you're working towards something, you know.
Yeah.
So you joined the Fort Lauderdale Police Department?
Yep.
Okay, and you were a rookie cop?
Rookie cop, man.
Rookie cop, so
Yeah.
what is that process like, you know, even becoming a police officer? What do you need to do?
It's pretty long, man. You have to pass a lengthy background investigation, polygraph, psychological eval, physical, but it's nothing is done quickly. It's like you're gonna do your polygraph this week, and then you wait like another week for the results or whatever, or you send your application in and you're waiting months for you to even hear back if they're gonna let you move forward with the process. You have to do a couple tests before you even apply. You have to do like a physical agility test, which is simple. You do like you jump over like a wall. It's like an obstacle course, super easy. You got to push a car, run like a quarter of a mile. I was right out of the I was like a maniac, you know.
Yeah, you're in great shape.
Yeah,
So
I was like, this is silly.
That's it?
So yeah, I was like,
That's all you
okay.
guys got? All right.
So, and then you got to do a swim test, and you have to do CJBAT, which is actually a written test. That was the part that I was most worried about, because I wasn't very studious growing up in school, so I was like, I need to really take my time, finish that, pass that with the skin of my teeth. Physical and all that other stuff was easy.
Yeah.
But so pass that with the skin of my teeth. Went on to the application process, interviews, you know, that kind of stuff. It's a lengthy process. I want to say it takes like 3 or 4 months to get hired.
Okay.
And then you go to the academy, which is just like a college course with a rubber gun.
Mm-hmm.
They teach you all the laws that you need to know. They teach you basic things, you know, like super basic stuff about narcotics, what the difference between a burglary and a robbery is, like, you know, court appearancing, like appearing in court,
Yeah.
Basic patrol tactics, officer safety, defensive tactics, which is like the hand-to-hand stuff, which is a joke, but it's a check the mark for them,
Sure.
you know.
So you go through all these processes, and then you're out patrolling?
Yep, they assigned me to.
Do you have a partner?
Yeah, they signed me to an FTO, field training officer,
Okay.
somebody who's got some experience.
Who was your first partner?
His name was Vinny Falzone, and Ryan Imes were two of my very first. Ryan Imes was on the SWAT team. He was my first FTO, and then he had SWAT training. So on the time that you had SWAT training, go with my buddy Vinny. We're all good friends still, but was assigned to the Northeast area. It was an afternoon shift, so busy, real busy. Then I went to the midnight. They switch you around. Went to the midnight shift with another guy. Went in the northwest section of the city. Did basically, you're just learning how to handle calls, learning how to talk to people, learning, how to write reports, what needs to be in the report. That you got broken into, you said you know who did it. They took X, Y, and Z. Okay, all that's great. Do you want to prosecute? You want them to go to jail? No. Okay, well now what? like what are you gonna do now?
Yeah.
But yes, you do want to prosecute. Okay, now who do I have to call? Who do I have to notify?
Sure.
The sergeants, whatever. Like all kinds of little nuances of the job. Sure. So usually by the third phase, you should be getting the hang of that. Then they put you on a shadow phase, where there's just somebody following you around for a week, making sure you're all right. Then they say you're good to go, and you're out on your own. You're a cop now.
So once you're out on your own, at that point, do you start setting a goal for yourself on, because you're the guy that you're originally with, he's in the SWAT.
Right.
Right. So at that point in your head, is it the seed being planted?
A little.
That's where
I'd
you
say a
wanna
little
go,
bit.
or-
I didn't know. I didn't want to be on the SWAT team immediately. I did a bunch of that stuff when I was in the Army.
Sure.
I kind of wanted to focus more on learning how to be the best cop that I could be, and getting involved in everything.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to see what this job had for me, and I wanted to experience it all.
Yeah.
I didn't join the SWAT team until much later in my career. It was 3 years ago now. So I don't know what led me up. Just one day I was like, you know what? I had a bunch of friends that were on the SWAT team, and I was like, you know what? I think it's time for me to branch into this, area and kind of exploit that kind of stuff,
And I'm sure deep down inside you always knew you had the skills.
Sure, absolutely.
For it. It's just like, do you really want to put yourself
Right.
in that position?
Yeah, absolutely, and it's a commitment too because you're always on call. We have a ton of special events in the city that we're responsible for, especially with all the stuff that's going on, with the mass shootings and stuff. SWAT's taken on a much higher responsibility. You got the Tortuga, we're all out there. St. Patrick's Day parade coming up, we're going to be out there. Spring break, all that stuff. You got SWAT guys working in a quick reaction force capacity, handling different things, all kinds of different intricate. Yeah.
And I'm terrible with words.
That's all right. It's very intricate. No, I'm not saying it right. It's very involved. So you got a lot of moving pieces, and we're tasked with being out there and providing that security, as alongside of regular patrol officers.
Yeah, day to day.
Day-to-day guys. So.
Wow. So, in today's day and age, with all the mass shootings going on, for somebody that owns a commercial property or is in charge of a school or a mall, what preparation should they have in place to be prepared for a situation that can't happen in today's environment?
That's a really good question, actually, and you need to have a plan. Whatever that plan is, it's something nobody ever thinks about, right? You're not walking down the street thinking about what if a gunman pops into my Publix, or the grocery store. Like,
Sure.
You're there to buy bread, or whatever you're there to buy. So that's never in your brain. But you need to sit down and think about, okay, if I'm at work, if somebody came in here, a disgruntled employee, what would I do? With a gun. What would I do? Or, a customer that's crazy. What would I do? And you need to develop your own plan for, your own business, your own building, stuff like that. There's companies out there that actually provide a service with helping you build those plans. and there's a couple guys that I actually work with that were at Stoneman Douglas and at the airport when they had the airport shooting and stuff like that. It's called Guardian Defense. Great guys. They're on the SWAT team. You're never going to meet better guys. They run a company like that.
So they'll come in and assess
Sure, absolutely. They'll
your
help.
business.
Yeah, and they'll talk to you. They'll help you develop that plan. They'll get your input. Also, along with that plan, you need to know basic first aid. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with like the Stop the Bleed project, learning how to use a tourniquet, knowing what a tourniquet is.
Sure.
You know, things like that. Just small things that can buy you a few minutes till first responders show up on scene and can help you out further.
So for your store manager, it's, you know, the tourniquet, CPR.
CPR, absolutely. Chest seals. I know, like you have sucking chest wound. It's like if you get a gunshot in the lung, you know, and like you're thinking,
How much does that cost?
dude, you can make one. You can make one out of a bag of chips and a piece of tape.
Bag of chips, piece of tape.
Yeah, 2-3 pieces of tape. You leave one side open so it can burp. It's a one-way valve.
3 ways.
Yeah, it's a one-way valve.
And then one open.
Yep, one way, one open.
Uh-huh.
And then that way it kind of seals the chest wound, and it can allow your lung to keep from collapsing a little bit. It's a bunch of medical stuff that I'm
Sure.
not 100% sure on.
But it'll keep you alive for a couple
Keep
minutes.
you alive. Definitely will. You know, little basic things like that. Those are huge. You know, and that'll keep you alive for a while until, you know, the human body is capable of doing a lot of things. You know, you'd be surprised, but you also have to, if you've taken the time to sit down and think and have these discussions with your employees or even like your family, it's not going to be it's going to be a shock. It's going to be a shocking event,
Yeah.
but it's not going to be like, I have no idea.
Like deer in the headlights, everybody freezes.
Correct. It's like never having any martial arts experience whatsoever, never watching the UFC and having a guy mount you. You're like,
Shell shock.
now what?
Yeah.
No, what do I do now? Take a couple classes, you don't have to do anything crazy, and now you've got a little bit of an idea. You're not panicked, you know, getting suffocated.
So for businesses that are seeing thousands of people come in and out, you know, like a Publix or like a grocery store, whatever it might be, or a mall, how do you put a metal detector in front of every door? Do you use like
So you gotta,
facial, do you use fancy cameras to find, you know, that they're holding a gun, or like do you limit the people that access your facility? Do you like, what processes do you take to
I think
try to create more security?
you want to create security, right? This is just me personally speaking.
Sure.
You want to create security, but you also don't want to be in a constant state of fear.
Yeah.
So I think if our citizens are properly prepared, also like the business, like I don't know, like a Walmart or something, you know, if like we have a detail at our Walmart, police officer out front,
Sure.
you know, you have security, you have loss prevention guys,
Yeah.
you know, you talk about these things, you go over these things, and you can kind of provide a sense of security for people without having that like fear moment. Like I've been to other countries where you're walking around and the police are holding submachine guns.
Correct.
You know, that's getting to be a common thing in the United States.
Yeah.
Like we're just now implementing that in the city of Fort Lauderdale, open carry of our ARs. It might look intimidating to, you know,
I think it's a massive deterrent.
so that's a big
Yeah.
thing. You know, as long as you can create the appearance of being a hard target,
Sure.
that's going to deter that guy from, you know, wanting to do something crazy. You know, that's just one part of the equation. But I don't know if that really answers your question, but I think that's you got to start having those conversations, start making your own plan. You need to know first aid, like that's 100%. You know, and then not saying we've all seen like the crazy karate movies where they're dismantling guys with guns and stuff like that. It's probably not going to happen. But you know, you got these desks you can get cover behind, you know, you got whatever, man, like escape route, you know, where's the exit, things like that.
No, these are great pieces of advice for anybody that has a business, a facility. Hey, you're interacting with the public, with
Right.
people that, you know, might not be mentally stable, you know, and have an ulterior motive for why they're there.
Yeah, I think it kind of boils down to building a relationship with the people that you're around as well. You kind of know.
And for the common public that sees something that's wrong, that's off at a Tortuga or at a,
You got to say something.
say something to who?
Find a police officer,
Social
sign somebody in, anybody in a uniform, guy with a badge,
Anybody with a radio.
somebody. Hey,
Even a firefighter,
sure.
right?
But we have SWAT medics, like our firefighters are actually on. Some of them are on the SWAT team, and
Let me ask you something. Firefighters are not allowed to carry a firearm, no? What's
So-
the story with that? Even though they're running into like,
right. So
Crazy situation.
we have, like I said, SWAT medics. They're
Okay.
firefighters. Florida state legislator just passed a bill that says if they're acting in like a I'd have to read the exact verbiage, but when they're with us in as a SWAT, as an element of SWAT, like a
Yeah.
tactical capacity, they're allowed to carry a firearm, as far as for like self-defense.
sure.
So, and I would never ask one of our medics to come in unarmed. Like
Yeah.
that's ludicrous to me.
Yeah.
Like what?
Come on
you know?
in.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what I mean? So we have SWAT, that's like a whole tier system of like how, like these, like incidents go, like it's like a critical incident management, like matrix. But like you have like, if something's hot, like our SWAT medics will be in there with us, and then they have like a warm zone where they might escort more resources into them, like with a police escort, an
Yeah,
armed
start
escort.
building
And then,
layers.
yeah, absolutely.
So, I heard something also that if a police officer is getting attacked, and he calls in for civilian help, right? There's some rule there too,
There
right?
should- yeah,
The civilian should go help.
Should.
And if he doesn't,
Right.
then the
They could
civilian-
be held liable. Now, I've never, I mean, I've been a police officer for going on 11 years now.
I will tell you who I heard that from.
No, I've never seen anybody, now you could,
Sure.
100% you could, be like, hey, like, come help me. No, I'm not doing anything. No, I'm not gonna ask, like, you know, you got grandmas walking, grandma, come help me.
Yeah,
Like, I'm
yeah,
not
yeah.
gonna do that, like, come on, man. But, you know, definitely there is something to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a statute for it, so.
That's interesting, man. And so Gabe wants to know, my son, in the tanks, are there a lot of buttons?
Oh, there's tons. Actually, you should bring them by. We'll we can get them up in there.
That's
But yeah, in the tanks and stuff, there's a ton of buttons. There's lasers, guided, you know,
All kinds of cool
all
stuff.
kinds of crazy stuff, man. There's all kinds of, you know, technology in there.
That's crazy, man. So
Yeah.
I know you recently did some sort of training that you jumped out of a helicopter into the ocean and
Yeah, that was-
crazy swim.
That was for the wet team,
Okay.
part of the SWAT team. We have a wet contingent, waterborne operations.
So
in
is that
case-
like boarding a ship type of deal?
Sure, if in case something goes wild on a yacht, Fort Lauderdale is like the yachting capital of
Yeah,
the world.
yeah, that's it.
You know,
Something goes wild on a yacht. Man,
Yeah.
It is South Florida.
yeah, exactly. So we have the capabilities of, you know, boarding a yacht, or you know, God forbid there's ever like a hostage situation. The jumping out of the helicopter thing was awesome. Am I probably ever going to do that again, other than a training scenario? Probably not, unless like but you never know.
Yeah.
You can never say never, you know, that's a big thing that we always say. But it's better to be prepared for it and have that experience. That way, if the time ever does come, we can be like, oh yeah, too easy. I remember how to do this.
When Fleet Week comes by, do you
Right.
get like super crazy access to? Like, do you see the submarine? Like,
Some
real
guys
close and
do.
stuff
I
like
try
that?
not to get. I'm not the kind of guy. Like you
Yeah.
can definitely. There's guys that you can definitely get up and like go check out like whatever and
Sure.
do whatever you want. I usually, you know.
I gotta imagine that, like, you having the position you have, like, you pretty much have
Yeah, you can
pretty good access.
Yeah, absolutely. Like
Pretty free range.
true. Like that's true. Like we try to be. You got to be professional about
Absolutely.
it. You can't be like, you know, if Beyonce's at Tortuga this
Sure.
year, guys aren't going to be like,
But you're still at the concert. You didn't have to
Yeah,
pay for it.
absolutely.
You're keeping
Yeah,
people
yeah.
secure.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the perks of the job, you know.
Nice, man. So we met each other in training. What brought you to jiu-jitsu?
Growing up, I did karate. You know, that was all right. When I was in the Army, I did Army combatives. I was a combatives instructor. That was like a little bit of like this much jujitsu and that, and it was bad jujitsu. Uh, got out of the Army, you know, did the police officer thing. My oldest son had a friend in school, just, you know, from watching the UFC and stuff, and he had a friend in school that did karate, and they had like a talent show, and he was like breaking boards and stuff, and I was like, man, he's like, I really want to do karate, and I was like, I don't know, man. I was like, it's not 1995 anymore.
Yeah.
Stuff, I mean,
Things have evolved.
Yeah,
And you're smart enough to know that.
absolutely. And I was like, man,
You want to put them at the best opportunity.
let me see if there's a good jiu-jitsu gym around that I can get them involved in. I went to Top Team, trained out there for a very short time, wasn't really liking the vibe. Then the next school I tried was AJ's out over off when it was over on Cypress. I trained there for a couple weeks, and I was like, man, this place is cool. I was like, this is exactly what I'm looking for in a gym. Asked about the kids program. You know, they said they had one, told me to bring him by, brought him by. Absolutely fell in love with it. You know, he started training. I was training a little bit. I ended up hurting my shoulder. Stopped training, but
So your son.
yeah, my son is pretty much
what brought you into
pretty
it.
much got me into it. Now it's a little bit more of
Vice versa.
no, he still loves it.
Okay.
He loves it. Like, he loves to train. But now for me, it's more about I don't know. It's more of testing myself. Gives me something to do to kind of keep my head clear. You know, helps me blow off steam. Keeps me connected with people that I wouldn't normally connect with. You know, I don't have to hang out with cops all the time. You know, it's nice to be able to, you know, have friends outside of the police force and not always be in that echo chamber and, you know, talking to other people and just kind of being able to have a place where I can kind of let loose a little bit and I don't always have to be like, you know.
Politically correct.
Yeah, either that or like,
on edge.
you know, on edge, like even though like everybody.
Quiet when you want to speak.
Yeah, everybody there is trying to choke you out, but at the same time, like, it's all cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what would be one of the biggest things that you would advise somebody when they're starting off their journey in jiu-jitsu?
Don't quit. Tap early and tap often. And you can't have an ego. Like, it's not, I understand that you might like bench press 900 pounds or you can run 7 miles in 10 minutes. All that's fine. But when you step on the mats, it's an equalizer because, you know, you're going to have a guy that's half your size smothering you, you know, and there's nothing that you're going to be able to do about it until you take the time, not quit, and learn what you need to do to get out of those situations.
So how do you deal with those feelings of like being the baddest guy on the block in your head or in your circle, and then you go somewhere and you are nothing, and you're humbled, and you're, you know, obliterated in a sense. Like,
absolutely.
how do you mentally process that to continue? Because most people would buckle on that.
Yeah, that's
right?
true.
Because it's very uncomfortable. It's out of their comfort zone. It's not the norm that they're used to.
You just, it might sound stupid, but every day that I go in there, when I go against like a black belt or something, this is going to sound ridiculous, but sometimes I walk in and I'm like, more days often than not, I'm like, today's the day.
Yeah.
I'm going to get you. Like, it's the day. And it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You know it, I know it, he knows it.
Well, it will one day.
One day it will.
For sure.
But I think having that, being a little relentless about it, you know, you have to kind of you just have to keep working at it because, you know, if it was easy, everybody would do it. You know, you wouldn't have to work at it. And I think that's one of the things that draws me to it as well. It's not easy. It's not an easy sport.
And this is, and like, I can understand if you had nothing else going on and you're hanging out all day and, you know, you got millions of dollars in the bank that your
Right.
dad gave you.
Yeah.
And, you know, but that's not you. I mean, like, you have a family, a wife, you have a full-time job, you are on call 24 hours a day, and all the other things that you do and all the other ways that you serve. So how do you make time to stay consistent with the things that you do? Isn't it easy to say I'm tired because you're tired?
100%. And that's an easy out for everything. You can make excuses for anything that you want. And just be like, I'm too tired today, I'm not going to do it. But you can find time. Number one, if it wasn't for my wife, she sacrifices a lot so that I can do the things that I do.
God bless the wives.
Yeah, absolutely. She definitely is a big part of that. But you can find time. You know, the 10 to 20, 30, 40, 3, 4 hours a day that you spend on your phone, on social media or on Amazon or whatever, you can put that towards your work so you have time to get to the gym. Sometimes you might have to sacrifice sleep, you know, sometimes you might have to sacrifice a meal, you know, but if you want it, you're going to work for it, and that's the bottom line. I don't have the disillusion that, like, one day I'm going to be like a world champion. You know, I'm not working for that, but I could be a world champion partner for my partner that is in the gym that is working to be a world champion.
100%.
You know, I could definitely be there for them to do that, but it's kind of like those little things.
So put in the time, put in the work.
You got to put in the time, and if you want it, you want to get better. You know, you got to do it because it's not going to do it itself.
Yeah.
You know.
As much as our mind would like us to believe that.
Absolutely. You know, like today.
So many people live in delusion. You know?
Yeah. Today I didn't want to come at all. Like none. I was hurting bad today, and I wanted to sit on the couch. But I was like, if I don't want to go today, that means I should go. Like I should go.
And I find that usually when your mind starts running down a negative road, and you fight it, and you go against what it was telling you to do, usually beautiful things happen.
Absolutely.
At the outcome of it. Like usually that's when you'll have your moment, or things will start going in your favor, or the technique will click. And through one thing I found with jiu-jitsu is like, what the basic principles that you learn within there are cross applicable to many different facets of your life.
Yeah, absolutely,
so,
man.
You know, like to your point of like being difficult, you know, mentally for today's training session, you know, it might be the decision you have to make later tonight with something that might be life or death for somebody.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and like always making that right decision of not being content or comfort, but doing what's right.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And you get comfortable being uncomfortable. You know, like you said, like it's easy to go down that like negative pathway where you're like, I'm tired, I'm just gonna sit on the couch, I'm not gonna do anything.
Looking for comfort.
And then you can.
What you're saying is you could flip the coin to the other side.
Sure.
And you like being uncomfortable.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's really when crazy things start happening.
Yeah, absolutely. And you start like now you're like, you know, taking cold showers and, you know,
jumping in ice baths.
Right, doing silly things. And like, why are you doing this? I don't know, man. Like, what am I doing this for?
I kind of like it.
Absolutely. And then, you know, I think those kind of things too prepare you for just like life in general.
Yeah.
Like just a regular dude, you know. If you're used to, you know, dealing with adversity, whether it's on the mat or in life, like and you can just take it, roll with the punches, you know, that's going to make you a better person in the long run.
I love it, man. We'll leave it on that, man.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you
Absolutely,
coming in,
man. It was a great
good,
conversation. I enjoyed it.
Absolutely, man. Thank you.
Yeah.